Straight ahead on Law and Crime Daily. Nearly 2 years after his death, a sentence is handed down for the murder of Ahmaud Arbery.
I think in this case, the record speaks for itself. And the defendant's own words, I think, guide this court with regard to sentencing.
And accused Oxford High School shooter Ethan Crumbley appears in court, while his defense team waived a preliminary hearing. Plus, the latest in the sexual misconduct case against former New York Governor Andrew Cuomo. And later, jurors get the first glimpse of defendant Chandler Halderson's police interview.
We know your parents are no longer with us, okay, and we know the reason why. Okay, you need to tell the truth.
Law and Crime Daily, covering court cases from coast to coast. Welcome everyone to Law and Crime Daily. I'm Brian Buckmeyer along with Terry Austin. A judge hands down his sentence for 3 men who shot and killed an unarmed black man as he was running through a Georgia neighborhood last year. Greg McMichael, Travis McMichael, and William Roddy Bryan will spend the rest of their lives behind bars for the death of Ahmaud Arbery. In November, father and son Gregory and Travis McMichael and William Roddy Bryan were convicted of killing Arbery. Travis McMichael shot and killed 25-year-old Arbery in February 2020 as he was jogging near his Brunswick, Georgia home. McMichael and his father tailed Arbery in a pickup truck, and Bryan followed in a separate truck. He captured the shooting on video. That footage, which was leaked online and sparked national attention, showed Travis firing close-range shots into Arbery. Defense attorneys claim they were attempting a citizen's arrest, a law that has since been repealed and replaced. Travis McMichael was found guilty of malice murder and 8 felony charges. His father and Bryan were found guilty of felony murder, assault, and false imprisonment, among other charges. Georgia law states the 3 men would receive life sentences. On Friday, prosecutors asked for life without parole plus 25 years for Greg, life without parole plus 35 years for Travis, and life with the possibility of parole for Bryan. Several motions from Bryan's attorney were denied by the judge.
There are hundreds in Georgia and probably thousands of individuals around the country who are serving life sentences, have been in prison for many, many years, who drove the car that was used to escape from the armed robbery, or provided the key to break into the house not knowing that it was occupied. It doesn't matter whether you're white, black, or Martian, it's still wrong for the legislature to require this court, to compel this court as a matter of law to impose a mandatory life sentence on an individual who hasn't killed, attempted to kill, or intended to kill.
Arbery's family gave witness statements at the sentencing. His parents asked for justice to be served for their son.
We love our son, and we will never have him with us to celebrate anything. Thanksgiving, Christmas, or his birthday. His killers should spend the rest of their lives thinking about what they did and what they took from us. And they should do it from behind bars. Because me and my family, we got to live with his death the rest of our life. We'll never see Ahmaud again.
These men deserve the maximum sentence for their crimes. Ahmaud never said a word to them. He never threatened them. He just wanted to be left alone. They were fully committed to their crimes. Let them be fully committed for the consequences.
Judge Timothy Wamsey handed down the sentence to the McMichaels and Bryan late Friday afternoon.
As to Travis McMichael. Mr. McMichael, the court sentences you as follows. Count 1, malice murder, life without the possibility of parole. That is life plus 20. Greg McMichael, the court sentences you as follows. Count 1, malice murder, defendant was found not guilty. Count 2, felony murder, life without the possibility of parole. That is life plus 20 years. Roddy Bryan, I do want to separate a little bit because the state is making a different recommendation. The court sentences Mr. Bryan to life with the possibility of parole on count 3, which gives Mr. Bryan a life with the possibility of parole sentence.
The three men will also face a federal hate crimes trial next month. Joining us today is legal analyst Dina Dahl and Terry Austin. Dina, what did you make of Goff's motions where the other defendants joined, filed just hours before the sentencing? Why so late, and did the judge handle them well?
Essentially, what the motion was trying to do was say that the law, this sentencing, was too much. But this is not exactly something that the trial court would have been able to determine. This is something an appellate court, state Supreme Court, U.S. Supreme Court would be able to only say that the law is unconstitutional. His motion, though, was preserving this issue for appeal. His client, though, actually did get parole, so the issue's moot. He won't be using that for appeal. The judge decided to give him parole because he felt like he showed remorse after the fact. He cooperated with the police. As we know, the video that was taken by him was released. He felt that something should be done about this, in the judge's opinion.
Made sense there. Terry, were the sentences of the three men a just one? And what stuck out in your mind during the sentencing?
I definitely thought that the sentences were just. The first thing that stuck out to me was that the judge took a moment of silence for 1 minute. He said that it was because Ahmaud Arbery was running for 5 minutes and the terror that must have been in his mind when he was being confronted. And so I thought that was very poignant. And he also said to determine those sentences, he listened to the words and the actions of the defendants themselves. He said for Greg, he established this narrative, trapped like a rat. He said for Travis, it was the worst day of his life. Well, think about the day that Ahmaud Arbery had. He said for Brian, y'all, did you get him? And that too indicates that he was intentionally trying to get this individual. But like Dina said, he did show remorse, so the judge did become more lenient as far as he was concerned.
Yeah, those life sentences, at least in Georgia, is about 30 years in jail. For the McMichaels, you've got 20 years after that. It appears that Brian may have the ability to go to the parole board after 30 years, but he's, 52 years old, so he'd be a quite old man by that time when he has that opportunity. Thank you both. This week on Prime Crime, a one-time cold case gets solved decades after the 18-year-old high school student is brutally murdered. Law&Crime's Jesse Weber joins us now to explain how investigators cracked the case wide open. Jesse.
Hey there, Brian. Yeah, on our next episode, it's all about the cold case killing of Michelle Martinko back in 1979. Now, this is a murder that went unsolved. There were no answers for years. But then you fast forward to 2018, and there is a breakthrough. There's one suspect, Jerry Lynn Burns. When investigators ultimately interview him at his office, all captured on body cam footage, if you haven't seen it, it is fascinating to watch.
This is a level of violence in a very public place that very few people, even to this day, would see, and involving a young lady that was beloved in her community, really engaged with her school, and a member of the school choir, was a majorette, I think, and these sorts of things, had tons of friends and just really beloved. And she just doesn't come home one night. So I think that, by virtue of how well this case was documented back all those years ago, back in '79, we were able, as a result of moving forward in the future, the investigators and then us in the media, we were able to breathe life back into Michelle.
And we go through the whole case from the crime scene in 1979 all the way to the conclusion in 2020. Tune in to Law and Crime.
Thanks, Jesse. You can catch this week's episode of Prime Crime Friday night at 5:30 p.m. and 10:30 p.m. Eastern Time. Still ahead on Law and Crime Daily, former New York Governor Andrew Cuomo is back in court. The latest developments in his sexual misconduct case. But first, the accused Oxford High School shooter appears in Michigan court. Why defense attorneys waive the right to a preliminary hearing.
Hi, this is Dan Abrams with exciting news for all of our Law and Crime followers on YouTube. You can now get the live Law and Crime Network with YouTubeTV for all of your daily live trial coverage, legal news, expert analysis, and original true crime programs. Subscribe to YouTube TV today and then locate Law and Crime in the channel guide. And for only $1.99 a month, you can add the network to your bundle. Watch Law and Crime every day with YouTube TV. We put you in the jury box.
Welcome back to Law and Crime Daily. The boy allegedly responsible for a Michigan school shooting last year and his parents, who are charged in relation to the crime, all face a judge on Friday in separate hearings. In December, the defense attorneys for James and Jennifer Crumbley, the parents of the alleged Oxford High School shooter Ethan Crumbley, requested to have their bond be lowered. That request was denied Friday when a judge decided to keep the couple on a $500,000 bail each. A preliminary hearing for the Crumbley parents is now scheduled for February 8th. The couple are charged with 4 counts of involuntary manslaughter after Ethan allegedly shot and killed 4 of his classmates. Ethan, who faces 24 counts including murder and terrorism charges, also appeared in court Friday for a probable cause hearing. It was later rescheduled after both the prosecution and the defense requested more time to review evidence. Ethan waived his right to a preliminary hearing. Judge Nancy T. Karnick bound the 15-year-old over to circuit court. Circuit Court will soon set a trial date for Ethan. He was denied bond at his arraignment after the shooting when he entered a not guilty plea. During the hearing Friday, the judge said bond is expected to be addressed again in the coming weeks. Let's bring in legal analysts Dina Dahl and Terry Austin to break down the latest in the Oxford shooting. Terry, is there an advantage to waiving a preliminary hearing? Why do you think Ethan Crumbley's defense decided to do this?
Well, look, the whole purpose of a preliminary hearing is for the prosecutor to demonstrate there's enough to go forward. And it's like a mini trial. The prosecutor will bring on witnesses. The defense has an opportunity to cross-examine those witnesses. But the defense can waive that right. And I think in this case, they waived the right because they knew there was enough to proceed. And maybe they didn't want to tip their hand as to what their possible defense just might be.
And Dina, did you expect a different result from the Crumbley parents' hearing? And do you think the judge made the right decision to deny a change of bond?
I'm not surprised. There are 2 factors the judge would consider to reducing to bond. Are they a danger to society and are they a flight risk? The first one, they're probably not a danger to society, but they're definitely a flight risk. I mean, they left the city. They withdrew cash and left the city and were found in this warehouse. I mean, they demonstrated that they were willing to leave. And so I'm not surprised that their bond wasn't reduced.
Yeah, of course, you can ask for bond to be reduced at any point in time. Maybe future arguments will come up as the judge suggested, and as they do, we'll be here at Law and Crime Daily to give you the update. Coming up on Law and Crime Daily, a Wisconsin man accused of murdering and dismembering his parents. We show you the moments leading up to his arrest. Plus, will Andrew Cuomo have his day in court? What ruling a New York judge made about the state's former governor? Welcome back. The New York judge dismisses a forcible touching charge against former Governor Andrew Cuomo. Cuomo faced a misdemeanor charge in Albany County. He was accused of groping former aide Brittany Camiso in 2020. The sheriff of Albany County charged Cuomo, but the district attorney, David Soares, said he wasn't notified. Soares issued a statement earlier this week saying, quote, Camiso was credible, but the state couldn't meet its burden at trial. This was the only case for which Cuomo was charged with fondling a woman. Those allegations and a report on them from the state's attorney general led him to resign last summer. In a statement, Cuomo said in part, quote, for the last several weeks, we have remained silent while the process played itself out. Do not confuse our respect for the justice system with acquiescence. Here to break down the former Governor Andrew Cuomo's court appearance is legal analyst Dina Dahl and Terry Austin. Terry, did you think the judge actually had the power to stop this case from being dismissed, or was it done once the prosecution filed its motion?
Well, any judge has the power to dismiss the case sua sponte or on their own, but I think it's very rare for them to do that without a motion. Here, the prosecution basically was asserting that this was a misdemeanor charge, that they couldn't prove it, and so it should be dismissed. I think this whole case is very unusual from the very beginning. The sheriff brought the charges without conferring to the DA, so I'm thinking that the DA might have done this because he wants to send a message to the sheriff. Don't bring a case without talking to me first.
So, Dina, Camiso, the complainant in this case, is credible, but they couldn't prove the charges. Why do you think the prosecution dismissed this case? Why not leave it to a potential jury to decide?
According to the prosecutor, there was exculpatory evidence that the sheriff wasn't aware of, and that this made it less likely for him to be able to get a conviction. And that's the most important thing here. Prosecutors don't want to bring a case unless they think they can get a conviction. Even though sometimes there is evidence, if it has to rise the level of beyond a reasonable doubt. It's a very high standard. So if indeed there was anything exculpatory that they did have, it makes sense that they decided, hey, it's up to us to bring this, not the sheriff. They may never have brought it to begin with. In this respect, it looks like maybe something's fishy happening, but if they had never brought it, we never would be having this conversation.
Absolutely. And to add to that point, too, prosecutors, unlike defense attorneys or other lawyers, have a very unique ethical duty to only prosecute cases in which they think they can win on. They can't just bring frivolous claims, so to speak. So thank you for that, both. When we come back, emotional testimony from the defendant's ex-girlfriend. We head to Wisconsin as Chandler Halderson stands trial for the murder of his parents. Welcome back to Law and Crime Daily. As the first week of Wisconsin versus Chandler Halderson winds down, the jury hears a police interrogation with the defendant for the first time. Prosecutors say 23-year-old Chandler Halderson murdered his parents, 50-year-old Bart and 53-year-old Krista Halderson, in July 2021. After that, they say Halderson cut up their bodies and attempted to burn their remains in the family fireplace. He later scattered other body parts of theirs across southern Wisconsin. On Thursday, Halderson's former girlfriend, Catherine "Cat" Meldern, took the stand. She told jurors Halderson asked her to bring ice, hydrogen peroxide, and a Swiffer wet jet to his family home. Things got emotional on the stand when she told prosecutors about her interview with police.
Did you believe that you or Chandler had done anything wrong at that point?
No.
Okay. Were you emotional during that interview?
Yes.
How do you express your emotions sometimes?
I cry a lot, or if I get too anxious or emotional, I start vomiting.
Those things were happening that night?
Yeah.
Police asked at times to look at your phone and photographs and things of that sort?
Pardon?
And did you show them anything they wanted to see?
Anything they wanted, yeah, I gave to them.
Why was it important to you to cooperate at that time?
Because I just believed his parents were missing. And I just want them to be found.
The next day, jurors were shown Halderson's police interrogation.
We're going to start with a clean, white piece of paper for you to start telling the truth. Okay. Why? Because listen to me. This is the only chance you're going to have to tell us the truth. Okay. Listen. I can't tell you what we know, but we know you're not telling us the truth. We know your parents are no longer with us. Okay, and we know the reason why. Okay, you need to tell the truth. Listen. You need to tell the truth about what happened, and just tell us why it happened. Okay? If something happened, if you were defending yourself, or if you just got fed up with stuff, you need to tell us the truth. Okay? This is your chance to tell us why. You know what happened. We're not going to tell you what happened. You know what happened. You were there when it happened. We're not BSing you, okay?
I wasn't there when it happened. We know more than you think we know.
I understand.
But there's people that have told us things. We have evidence. We have proof that more has happened. Okay. So your parents never made it to the cabin, and I think you know that.
Dina, the prosecution weaved in simple facts, like the girlfriend bringing ice or hydrogen peroxide to the Halderson home. Where do you think the prosecution is leading us in this trial of death and dismemberment?
It's astonishing how many facts there are in this case. I mean, the defendant here talked quite a bit. He has a web of lies that came out. He manufactured a text from his mom, from his own phone. And the girlfriend, as we saw there, had no idea that this was happening. He buried the torso of his father on his girlfriend's property, and they were able to tell that from the data on the cell phone that they obtained from her. And then later, they end up even finding the gun on the girlfriend's property as well. So there's quite a bit of facts here, very gruesome coming out in this case.
Yeah, I know in law school they taught us about arguments that a single stick can be broken, but a bundle of sticks is almost impossible to break. And as I see this case being built, it's like stick by stick by stick by stick being put together for quite an unbreakable case. Terry, we got our first glimpse of Halderson's police interrogation on Friday. He answered questions without an attorney, but clammed up when detectives prodded him for the truth. How do you think this evidence will play out in front of the jury?
I don't think the evidence is going to play out very well at all, Brian. The jury is looking for signs as to whether or not this defendant is lying, and they want to see whether or not he cooperated at the time. And this looks like he's being very evasive. It looks like he's hiding something. The police are trying to get information out of him, but he is not cooperating. And I think that when you look at that interview, you can determine that he's lying, and he's made other lies in the past. So the fact that you can see this interview is really good, because I doubt very seriously whether or not he's actually going to take the stand. And it's great for the jury to get an opportunity to actually see him speaking so they can determine for themselves. He's a liar.
Yeah, the body language, the tone, everything is going to be judged, and they're going to come to a conclusion. Well, thank you both, and thank you for joining us here on Law and Crime Daily. We'll see you next time as we discuss justice in America.